Hello Pretties, welcome to Beverly. So today I have finally my ranking of all of the eyeshadow formulas that I've ever tried. I do want to note that I did not intentionally went into a little hiatus. It just kind of happened. I had a lot going on last week, so here we are. Also, if my makeup looks like shit, it's because I got a sunburn on Saturday and I've been peeling the pulling the skin off my nose. So yeah, anyway, everywhere else does not look that bad. I actually had filmed a video last Friday, but I ended up not posting it because I messed it up and I did not feel like fixing it because I would have to like go back and refilm, and I was like, it's not even worth it. Anyway, let's do this. So I have tried a total of 25 eyeshadow formulas. Now technically I'm only going to mention 24, and the reason for it is because one of them is the Ulta Beauty brand, but I've only tried cream matte shades to set my eyelid, so I don't feel like I have enough of a scoop to be able to give an actual opinion on those. So there's that. So I'm gonna start out with formulas that I have only tried shimmers from, because I have that, and then I'm gonna go into formulas I've only tried mattes from. Then I'm gonna go to formulas that I no longer have that I've exited them out, and then move into ones that I still have some from, but I have decluttered quite a few of them. I'm gonna be looking at blendability, buildability, pigment payoffs that shine, creasing, ash if it becomes ashy in my skin tone, it is something that I have to worry about, ease of use, fallout, and fading. Those are pretty much the categories. I'm also gonna mention the number of shadows that I've tried, because let's be honest, that does impact that number. Like if I've only tried 5 shades versus if I tried 25 or even 100 of them, it does make a big difference. Also the number of formulas that I've tried. Personally, the more formulas that I get, the better. I want to try as many formulas as I can. So meaning I want a lot of textures and a lot of different options. So anyway, this is gonna be a long one, so grab your snack, come on back. I miss Wendy. Anyway, let's get started. So first I have the Sephora Collection, and I've tried 2 shadows from them, and they're shimmer only. I've not decluttered them. I still own them. These are the oldest shadows in my collection, and fallout is minimal with these. Pigment payoff was okay. It wasn't like extremely shiny, but it was fine. I didn't get any creasing, or was it ashy, but it's hard to get ashiness with shimmers, so keep that in mind. Ease of use was high. Before I had an actual eyeshadow collection, I would grab this with my finger, put them all over my lid, and then just blend it out, and it worked like a dream. And it was very buildable, so buildability, yes, high. And fading, I didn't get any fading, so there's that. Fallout, I said yes, and it got minimal. By the way, where the actual ranking comes, it's not going to be till the very, very end. I'm only going to be ranking my top shadows, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 formulas out of all of them. Just want to put that out there. All right, next, Urban Decay. Number of shadows I've tried from them is 5, only shimmers. Actually, I've tried toppers, metallics, and a Duochrome, but they're all shimmer formula. I've not decluttered any of them. I do not get fallout from this. The pigment payoff or shine is high. I do not get creasing. It does not come out ashy again with shimmers. It don't really get a lot of ashiness with those. Ease of use is very, very high, just because you just kind of put a little bit lid. And buildable, yes. Fading, no. I didn't get any fading, at least personally. Moving along, Day Glow. Number of shadows, 5. Number of formulas I've tried is 3, but they're all shimmer formulas, toppers, metallics, and a Duochrome. Decluttered any? No, I have not. I do not get fallout with these. I personally do not get pigment payoff. Is shine. The pigment payoff and slash shine is high. I do not get any creasing. I don't know why it's doing that. Give me a second. I don't know what happened. It was like flicking for a minute, but we're back. Creasing, no. Ashy, no. Ease of use, it was okay. I did find it to be somewhat difficult sometimes to build up that pigment because they're so glittery, some of them. But overall, it was relatively easy to use. It just took a little effort sometimes. Buildable, yes. And fading, no. I didn't particularly have any fading. So, I know I'm moving through these quickly, but we gotta. Cleona. I've tried 6 shadows from them, 3 different formulas, multi-chrome, metallic, and a duochrome from them. I have not decluttered any of these formulas. I did not get fallout. The pigment payoff / shine is high. I personally did not get creasing. I did not get any ashiness, and the ease of use is high. It is super buildable, and I do not experience any fading throughout the day. So just kind of giving you a little bit of that. Smashbox, I have number of shadows, 8 that I've tried. Number of formulas that I've tried is 1, which is only mattes. I've decluttered this palette from my collection since, and I've not looked it back. The blendability was okay. It was somewhat buildable. The pigment payoff was okay. The creasing was low, but I did get some. It was ashy on me, which is why I ended up getting rid of it. The ashiness, I have it at high. Ease of use, it's actually pretty good. I put it at high as well. I did not get fallout, and the fading was low. It did fade a little bit. So, granted, this was years ago. I'm not sure if their formula has changed since. Makeup Revolution, Lord. Number of shadows, I cannot give you a number. I owned 1 palette from them that had a bunch of shadows. It was over 20 for sure. I just can't remember the exact number. It had 4 formulas, matte, shimmers, satin, and metallics. And I did declutter these, so this is no longer in my collection. The blend was low. There was no buildup to this. The pigment payoff / shine was very low, was no good. Creasing, I didn't get creasing though. Ashy, it was very high. Ashy, I mean, certain shades would not work with my skin tone. Ease of use was low. It was such a struggle to create looks because it wouldn't build, because it wouldn't blend. It was hard. The fallout was high, especially those like shimmer metallic ones. Oh my god, the fallout was insane, and the fading was so high. By the end of the day, my makeup was non-existent. I will say though, at that time, I didn't use actual eyeshadow primer. I used concealer, but there's a lot of shadows that I used to use back then that I used concealer, and I didn't have a problem. So this palette was just a dud, and I deter me from the brand, and I've never tried any eyeshadow from Makeup Revolution ever again. And I'm not inclined to ever again. Like, it was just so bad. Lime Crime. This is a recent declutter, but I have decluttered this. I tried eyeshadows, which you guys saw I had the palette earlier this year. There was 3 formulas. There was a metallic, shimmer, and a matte formula in there. It actually blended very well. It was surprisingly very buildable. The pigment payoff / shine was pretty good, considering all things considered. The creasing was not bad at all. It was not ashy, even though some of the shades were actually quite cool toned. So I had a very high probability of getting ashiness, but I didn't. So that right there is like a plus sign. That was really good. Easy of use, it was okay. It took a little bit more blending than normal, but I didn't have any problem with that. Fallout, no, and fading, no. So overall, the formula was okay, and I mentioned before, I ended up decluttering the palette because of the color story, not because of the formula of the shadows. So that's like Lime Crime. Sigma Beauty. This was gonna get me in trouble because I know a lot of people really love Sigma, but I just gotta say how it is. Number of shadows. Man, I'm really bringing in my inner Wendy. I'm having all of her, what's it called, phrases. I'm saying all of them. Anyway, all right, moving on. Sigma Beauty. Number of shadows I tried is 14. Number of formulas in there was 4. There was toppers, shimmers, metallics, and matte formulas. Oh, actually it's 5. I forgot there's a duochrome in there. So 5 duochrome. And you guys know this was the Sigma Enchanted palette that I tried. Have I decluttered this? Yes. This bitch is out of my collection and it will never be back. Blendable, it was okay. It blended okay. The buildability was low, almost non-existent. I could not get those shadows to build on top of each other. The pigment payoff / shine was low, especially with the metallics. I was really expecting a lot more from the shimmers, and it was just not really there. Sorry, the sun decided to like set right on my face, so I'm extra shiny right now. I apologize. Let me see if I just sit back down. That's a little bit better. Okay, nope, give me a second. Okay, I think that's a little better. Anyway, so buildable, non-existent. Pigment payoff / shine was low, especially for the shimmers. I was expecting a lot more kick, was just not getting them. I had to really use a, what's it called, glitter glue to even get them to really show up. Creasing, I did get some creasing, not a lot, but I did get some. it was extremely ashy for me, and I can think specifically one shade that looks so bad on me, but it was one of like the main shades in the palette to like really build color, like build an eye look with. So it was just such a struggle to have that one shade. Ease of use, I put low because the shimmers were a lot of work, the mattes were a lot of work. It was not easy to use. Fallout, I didn't really get a lot of fallout. Granted, I was having to wear glitter glue with those shimmers, so you know that definitely helped with that. And fading, I didn't really get a lot of fading throughout the day. The problem was I couldn't really get the pigment to show off from the get-go. So, you know, there's that. Athena's kind of sad by the door. All right, moving on. Tarte. Number of shadows, 26. Number of formulas, 4. Matte, metallic, shimmer, and a duochrome. Declutter before? Technically, yes. Before I had a YouTube channel, I had a very active Instagram account, and I decided to pan my Tarte's Pro palette. So I finished all the shades that I wanted to finish from this, and I eventually got rid of the rest, except for one that I ended up keeping, and I just kind of depotted it. It blended okay. It was somewhat buildable. The pigment payoff was all right. You could definitely build it up, but it wasn't straight off the bat. I didn't particularly get any creasing, but it was ashy. There was quite a few cool tones that just did not look well with my skin tone, which is why I only finished the shades that I did, and I kind of threw away the rest. Ease of use was okay. It definitely took a little bit of work to make it work, but not to be able to use it. But it wasn't extremely hard. Like, I wasn't blending for eternity. It just took a little more extra strokes than other shadows per se. Fallout, I didn't really get fallout or fading with it. The formula in itself was okay. My biggest concern was a lot of the shades were actually on me because they were so cool toned. They just clashed with my skin tone. And it did take a little more work to blend, build, and for the pigment payoff. But overall, it wasn't bad. And I actually, like I said, did finish most of the palette. Morphe. This number's high. I've used to own a lot of Morphe palettes before they changed the formula. I think it was 2018 when they changed the formula. I used to have a lot of the old ones, and then I had some of the new ones. Number of shadows, 168. I currently only have 35 of them in my collection. Recently decluttered the 24G, which brought this number down even more. I've tried 6 formulas for them: matte, metallic, pearlized, shimmer, toppers, and satins. Decluttered before? Yes, I've decluttered a lot of these, especially the old formula, because I used to own a lot of those. Blendable, actually I think especially the new formula, it was extremely blendable. It built okay. It took a little bit of work to build it, but it wasn't too hard to build. The pigment payoff and shine was high, so a lot of times you didn't need to build because the pigment was there from the get-go. Again, especially with the new formula. Definitely not the old formula. All of this I'm talking about for the next section is the new formula. Creasing, low. I would get some sometimes, but for the most part, it was pretty minimal. Ashy, surprisingly, it was not ashy on me. Granted, most of the things that I own from them were quite warm. So there was that. Ease of use was pretty high. I actually didn't have any trouble building, blending, all that stuff. Sorry, building a little bit. But like, I didn't have any problem blending and like putting things on my lid. So it was quite easy to create looks with it. Fallout, low, but I would get some sometimes, nothing crazy, and it would not fade throughout the day. Overall, not the worst one I've tried. Pixie Beauty, number of shadows, 8. Number of formulas I've tried, 3. Matte, shimmer, and satin. And declutter before, no, but it's on its way. And then blendable, no, it is very, like, I have a hard time blending these shadows. Buildable, it's low as well. It takes a long time to build those pigments from this. Pigment payoff / shine, low. And this is talking about my Panda palette, just FYI. Creasing, I don't really get creasing with it. It's not particularly ashy, but they're warm tones, so I don't particularly expect to get ashiness from this kind of shades. Ease of use is okay. It definitely takes work, but it's not the worst. Fallout, I actually get quite a bit of fallout with this one. Even with the mattes, which that's surprising because that's not something I usually experience, but I get a lot of fallout with this one. Fading is low. It actually doesn't fade too much, but it fades a little bit throughout the day. Nothing crazy. All right. For cosmetics, number of shadows I tried is 8. Number of formulas is 5. Matte, shimmer, satin, pearl, and duochrome. It says a duochrome. I personally do not think it's a duochrome, but that's how they advertise it, so that's what I'm counting it at. As I've not decluttered it. The blendability is okay. You can definitely build it, and it's totally fine. It's not too hard to do that. The pigment payoff / shine is all right. It is definitely not the most shiny shadows that I've had, and even the The same thing can be said for the shadows. They're not the darkest ones, but it's like a mauve purple one is the Ultra X Samantha March palette I'm talking about. I don't particularly get creasing, and ashiness is low. I will say this particular color story is completely working against me. My skin tone on that palette just clash naturally, but overall, considering how cool tone it is, I'm actually surprised that only one of the 8 shadows give me a problem with ashiness. I almost didn't buy the palette because I was worried that it's gonna look very ashy on me, but it's actually pigmented enough where it does not pull ashy, except for one shade a little bit, and I can still make it work. So ashiness low, especially considering the color story is a hard one to not get ashy colors for, especially for me. And then fallout, I didn't really get fallout or fading throughout the day. So overall, not bad. I kind of wish I tried more for eyeshadow from them. It's just the color stories don't really interest me. So there's that. Pure Cosmetics. I've tried 18 shadows from them, number of formulas, 2 matte and topper shimmer. And I'm talking specifically about the Pure X Raw Beauty Christie palette, which I've not decluttered. I still have in my collection. The blendability is okay. It can be a little bit hard, especially with the color side. Give me a second guys, I'll put you on hold for a minute. Oh gosh, what am I doing? Okay, so the pressed pigment side, the colorful side, can be a little bit more difficult to use because again, it's a pressed pigment. So it does take a little more finesse for the blending of those. The other side, the neutral side, blends like a dream. It's the colorful side that gives it a little trouble. So hence blendability is a little bit okay, it's fine. Buildable, I think they're quite buildable, especially the pressed pigments because again, they're pressed pigments. There's a lot of kickoff from the get-go. So it's really easy to build that up. As I said, pigment payoff shine, very high. Again, pressed pigments. So it's real, you get a lot of that from the get-go. I personally do not get any creasing. And even though there's at least one shade that I thought would potentially look ashy on me, it does not. And that's Mood Point. Mood Point looks so beautiful on me. I love it. So I do not get any ashiness. Ease of use is okay. Again, it's because the colorful side is quite pigmented. It does take a little bit of work, which is why ease of use is okay. Fallout, I don't really get fallout, and for fading, I don't really get fading as well with this one. Okay, Anastasia Beverly Hills. Number of shadows, 14. Number of formulas, 4. Matte, shimmer, metallic, and a duochrome. I'm specifically talking about the Anastasia Beverly Hills and Jackie Aina palette. I've obviously not decluttered as I still own it. I find the blend to be okay. It does take a little more work because that palette is meant for people with darker skin tones than me. It can take a little bit more work to blend it. I just have to go really self-handed and just careful with the kind of brush I use. I've noticed that depending on what brush I use, it makes a big difference on how good I blend, especially because it has so much pigment off the get-go. It builds on itself really well, again, because there's so high pigmented, because again, it's meant for darker skin tones. That being said, pigment payoff / shine is quite high. I don't particularly get creasing. I don't particularly get ashiness with it. And that's something that even Jackie said. I want to be able to use pinks and like mauves and not have to worry about it looking ashy on me. And I don't have to worry about that. So I'm really excited about that. Ease of use, I put low. It does, and the reason for it is because it does take, oh gosh, it does take a little bit of work to blend those. The shimmers are actually quite easy to use, but the mattes, they take a little more work because they're so highly pigmented. I'm just putting it from the get-go, so the ease of use I put low. As for fallout and fading, I personally don't get any. So overall, for me, it's a really high-ranking formula, even though the blendability was okay. Even though it's a lot of pigment, it's not too difficult to blend, which is why I did that. All right, Sydney Grace. Number of shadows, 15. Number of formulas, 5. Pearled, matte, metallic, shimmer, and duochromes. Declutter before, no. I'm specifically talking about the Sydney Grace and the Tiny Marbles palette with Mel Thompson. So I've not decluttered this, I still own it. The blendability is quite high. Buildability is again quite high. Pigment payoff / shine is really, really good. Creasing, I personally don't have any. Ashiness, no. There's at least 2 shades that I should be worried about potentially looking ashy on me, but they don't. So really glad about those. The ease of use is okay. And the reason why the ease of use is okay, even though the blendability and the buildability is high, is because I've mentioned this before. I have a hard time creating color stories with this specific formula and like mixing and matching. So that's a personal thing. So anyway, just putting that out there. The ease of use is okay. The formula itself works fine. I just have a hard time creating looks, which makes it a little hard for me to use it. Fallout is, I don't really get fallout, and fading, I don't particularly get fading with this formula. Moving along. Huda Beauty. This is another one that could potentially get me in trouble. I know people swear up and down, say Huda Beauty is the best formula out there. And I'm about to tell you it's not. Number of shadows, I have 18. Number of formulas is, I have tried this for matte, shimmer, duochromes, and metallics. I've not decluttered this before. I still own it. I only own one palette for them, and it's the Mercury Retrograde palette, which I actually quite enjoy. It blends okay. It can be a little bit difficult to blend some of the mauves, but not too crazy. It actually built on itself quite well, and I can definitely make it darker if I want to. Pigment payoff session, it's okay. The metallic's actually quite nice. Some of the, what I would think would be more mid-tone shades can look a bit lackluster, and specifically mattes that thought would be mid-tone shades are actually quite light, and some of the darker shades are actually a little more mid-toned. Someone decided to cut their grass on Tuesday afternoon. Who does that? Give me a minute. Okay, it seems like they've gone away. So there is a little bit of that, but I mean, again, the pigment payoff is not quite what there, but you can build it to that color. It's just not there from the get-go the way it would look on pan. I don't particularly get creasing. Actually, I do get some ashiness with some of the colors because they're a little cool toned. Ease of use is okay, mostly because whatever color you think you're going to get on the pan is not necessarily the color you're going to get. So I have in like big lines right here, not true to color. Not that you guys can see that. But yeah, the pan is not true to color at all, which makes it harder for me to use it and create eye looks with it, because whatever I'm seeing is not it. Fallout, I get minimal fallout, especially with the metallics. They can be a little kind of pungent, a little glittery and in your face, and I can see it a little bit on my cheek sometimes. So something to note. Fading, I don't particularly experience fading. Now an airplane's also flying by. What the Alright. Sorry guys, but this is the only time I have to film. So unless I want to go into another week without any videos, I have to film, and I'm just gonna have to deal with the noise. I'm sorry. Lunar Beauty. Number of shadows, 15. Number of formulas I've tried is matte, shimmer, and topper shades from them. And I've not decluttered it. The palette that I have is the Lunar Eclipse. I think that's what it's called, Lunar Eclipse. Blendable, it's very highly blendable. It's definitely buildable. The pigment payoffs that shine is high for the most part, and even the toppers you can build them to look quite metallic if you just keep building it. I don't particularly get creasing, and ashiness, I got no ashiness. I put a little star. Even though the palette is technically considered like a cool tone neutral palette, I actually get no ashiness from it, so I'm quite impressed with that. Ease of use is okay. The fallout is low. I do get a little bit of fallout with the topper shades specifically because they're quite glittery. I do get a little bit of fallout right here on my cheeks. And then fading, I do not get any fading. Moving along. Natasha Denona. I've only tried one palette from her, although there's another one in the mail that's supposed to get here tonight. I just ordered my Dream palette from Denona, but I currently own the Zendo, which I've been told the Zendo is apparently not the best formula from Natasha. I guess. I personally really like it. So number of shadows, 15. Number of formulas, there's 5 formulas. There's cream to powder, metallic, shimmers, matte, and a duochrome. Did clutter before? No. Blendable? Yes. Is it buildable? Yes, highly. Pigment payoffs that shine? High? Yes. Creasing? No. Ashiness? No, but it's relatively a warm tone palette, so I don't get a lot of that. Ease of use is very easy to use, high use. Fallout? No, and fading? No. So overall, one of the top formulas I own. Even though it's technically apparently not the best Natasha formula, so I'm really excited to try this new palette. Makeup Geek. I have 18 shadows. They're all single shadows. Number of formulas I have is 2. I have matte and shimmer formula. I've not decluttered any of them before. It is highly blendable, highly buildable. Pigment payoff / shine is quite high. Creasing, I don't get any creasing. I don't get any ashiness as well. Even though I have some shades that I could potentially get that risk from getting ashiness from, I haven't. Ease of use is quite high. I don't get fallout nor fading with it. Overall, one of the top formulas I own. It's really a shame that it's gone. Odin's Eye. Number of shadows I've tried is 32. Number of formulas is 7. It's got a lot. Matte, toppers, shimmers, glitter, duochrome, multichrome, and metallics. I've not decluttered any before. I have 2 palettes, the Odin's Eye X Judy, which is a red dragon, and I have the Odin's Eyes and Angelica Hella palette. I've not decluttered any of this. I think they're quite blendable, quite buildable, is high. Pigment payoff / shine is again quite high. Give me a second, guys. So I live across from a playground, and apparently what's getting cut is the playground, which is why the noise is so loud. Oh gosh. Anyway, we just gotta get through this. I'm so sorry, guys. I really do. But again, if I don't do this now, it won't happen. So anyway, Odin's Eye. Blendable? Yes, the mattes blend beautifully. The mattes also build very, very nicely. Pigment payoff / shine is high in the shimmers and in the mattes. Creasing? No, I don't particularly experience any creasing with Odin's Eye. Ashy, I don't particularly find them ashy, even though there's quite a few shades that should look ashy on me. They don't. Ease of use, I put as low. The reason is specifically their shimmers, and that's because the fallout is high. The shimmers are quite chunky, and this can cause a lot of fallout in the cheek area. It can also cause it to be a little bit difficult to place it on the eye. Definitely do not go with it with any kind of brush. Those are finger shimmers, and I highly encourage you to use a glitter glue. If you haven't already tried Odin's Eye, use a glitter glue. It's gonna make it so much better. Fading, no, I don't particularly get fading throughout the day. Even though there's fallout, there's no fading. But I don't know how that one worked. Scott Barnes. Number of shadows I've tried for them, 25. Number of formulas, 7. Matte, shimmer, pearl, metallic, duochrome, topper, and a satin. Decluttered before? No, I have not decluttered before. Blendability is super high. Buildability is super high. Pigment, payoff, and shine is very good as well. Creasing, I don't get no creasing. You guys are gonna see in my next 1 week 1 palette. There's a look. It's actually the same look that I recreated today. But I went to football practice with my makeup on because I didn't have time after work to take off my makeup and go to football practice. And even after football practice, I had no creasing and it still looks so good. And I took the photo after football practice. So yeah, creasing, no. Ashy, no. And there's a few shades that should look ashy on me, but they don't. Ease of use is quite high. It is so easy. This eye look that I did took me literally 8 minutes. And I know that sounds like a long time, but it takes me usually like 20 minutes to do my makeup, maybe my eyes, 15 to 20 minutes. So that's for me really easy. Fallout, no, and fading, no. Something that Scott is super proud of is the fact that he has no fallout and no fading, and I can totally agree with that. This is one of the top formulas I own, and the noise is getting louder. Okay, we got 3 more formulas, and then we can actually go into the ranking. So I have Persona Cosmetics. Number of shadows I've tried for them is 24. Number of formulas is 3. I have matte, shimmer, and pearlized formulas I've tried. I have not decluttered any of this. Blendability is high. Buildability is high. Pigment payoff / shine is quite high as well. Creasing, I personally don't get no creasing. Ashiness, I do get a little bit of ashiness, specifically with 2 shades, well, 1.5 shades. And that's because they're quite cool toned, and again, they just clash with my skin tone. I am able to make one of them work. The other one, I can only use it as an outer corner shadow. I cannot use it on my crease. It will not look on my crease. There's nothing I can do about it. It just will not. Fallout, I have none. Ease of use, I put quite high, and fading, I have none. Ease of use, this is one of the easiest formulas you can use. It's actually, if you are more mature eyelids, highly encourage you to get Persona Cosmetics. It's gonna look so smooth on your skin. It is honestly very nice. Top formulas, even though I do find 2 of the shades to be a little ashy on me. Okay, Laura Los Angeles. I've tried 78 shadows from this brand. Number of formulas, 9. Satin, matte, shimmer, metallic, foil, topper, duochrome, multichrome, and pearl foam. I've not decluttered any shadows from Laura Los Angeles. I found them to be quite blendable, quite buildable. Pigment payoff / shine is really good. Creasing, no. Ashiness, personally haven't had any ashiness. Athena! Ease of use is quite high. I personally can create a look with Laura Los Angeles super easy, and the shadows are super buttery and easy to blend. Fallout, no. And Fading, no. Overall, one of my top formulas that I own. Same with Persona. And last formula that I have is Colourpop. I've tried 141 shadows and 10 formulas: cream, duochromes, putty, matte, shimmer, pearl, satin, loose pigments, glitter, and toppers. And I've not decluttered any of them, which I was quite shocked that I haven't decluttered any Colourpop before in my life. So yeah, shocker. Blendable, quite high. Buildable, yes, very highly. Pigment pales that shine, high. Creasing, no. Ashy, no. Ease of use, I personally can use Colourpop shadows super easily. I have no problem with them whatsoever. Fallout, no. And then Fading, no. I did make a note that I want to mention that I've been told that Colourpop can be quite inconsistent with their formulas, but I personally don't have any experience with that. That's because except for 2 palettes from Colourpop, I usually... What in the hell? So the guy that was cutting the grass with like the little machine started like driving off with the cutting machine, like on the actual street. I just saw him going. Anyway, not important. I personally have only impulse bought 2 palettes from Colourpop, and everything else that I've tried from them, I usually look at a lot of reviews before trying it, so I know that I'm gonna get good formula from what I'm trying. So I just kind of want to give that disclosure right now and letting you know. Alright, so overall, my top formulas that I have that I feel like you cannot go wrong with if you were to try them are Colourpop. Granted, like I said, I've been told it's inconsistent. I personally just don't have that experience. Laura Los Angeles, Persona Cosmetics, Scott Barnes, Makeup Geek, unfortunately no longer available, Natasha Denona, Sydney Grace, Anastasia Beverly Hills, Urban Decay, Cleona, Huda Beauty, Lunar Beauty, and Odin's Eye. I do want to say that out of this top formulas, I have 5 formulas that I'm pretty much ranking at the bottom, and that's going to be Urban Decay, Cleona, Huda Beauty, Lunar Beauty, and Odin's Eye. Out of those, I'm going to have to put at number 5, Odin's Eye. The reason for it is, again, the shimmers can be a little bit hard to work with, and I've heard a lot of people say that they personally do not enjoy those. I'm then going to go with Huda Beauty, and again, it's because the colors are not true to the shades are not true to color, and they can be quite difficult sometimes to create eye looks because they're not going to look the way in the eye, the way they look in the pan. And so it can be a little harder for me to do that. I'm then going to go with Urban Decay as number 3, and it's truly because the other 2 are just really good. I just haven't tried enough shadows from Urban Decay to be able to rank them any higher. I've never tried any of their mattes. I haven't tried any of the palettes. I've never tried a Nike palette. I thought about buying the Born to Run, but I never actually, did it. So there's that. And then from Cleona, I think her multi-chromes are beautiful and her duochromes are quite nice as well. I haven't tried enough to be able to rank them any higher, and I've only tried their shimmers, so it's hard for me to rank them any higher than that. And then Lunar Beauty, it's just shy of being one of my top formulas, and I think it's because I just haven't tried enough, and the metallics sometimes gave me a little bit of trouble when I was trying to build them up. They could build up, but it took a little effort to build up. So just want to put that out there. Now, out of my top formulas, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm gonna go ahead and put oh, this one's hard. I have Colourpop, Laura Los Angeles, Persona, Scott Barnes, Makeup Geek, Natasha Denona, Sydney Grace, and Anastasia Beverly Hills. I should have done this ahead of time. Give me a second, guys. Okay, it looks like she finally chilled out. I think I'm gonna put Anastasia Beverly Hills at number 8, and it's only because the mattes can be a little more harder to blend again because there's so much pigment coming off straight off the bat. How did you guys get in? I thought the door was closed. Alright, dinner's ready, so I gotta hurry the fuck up. Anastasia Beverly Hills I'm putting at number 8 out of my top formulas. Again, really good from what I've tried, but I've only tried 1 palette for them, so it's kind of hard for me to be able to range them a little higher. I'm gonna then go with Makeup Geek as number 7. The reason for it is, 1, you can't really get your hands on it anymore, and 2, I haven't tried enough formulas. I really only tried 2, so I kind of wish I had more to go off of to be able to place it a little higher. I'm gonna go with number 6, Sydney Grace. Again, this is a personal thing, and I'm sure if I try more palettes from them, it might change my mind. But the only palette that I do own from them, I have a hard time creating looks with it. So there's that. Oh my god, the UPS truck's here. My palette's here. Okay, I gotta quickly do this. So that was 6. Number 5, I'm gonna go with Persona Cosmetics, similar to Makeup Geek. This one hurt my soul to put Persona so low. I mean, it's still top 5, but it's just there's not enough formula variation for me to be able to put this a little bit higher than that. But overall, I really like it. It's one of the easiest formulas I have, and if you have mature eyelids, definitely try Persona Cosmetics. It is the brand to go to. Also, I do have problems with that 1.5 shade being a little ashy for me, so I kind of gotta duck a little bit because of that. Okay, number 4, I'm gonna go with Colourpop. And the reason for it is because the other formulas that I have are easier to use. They're just easier to use. For number 3, I'm gonna go Scott Barnes. I could have definitely put Scott Barnes a lot higher. I just haven't tried enough formulas from him to be able to tell. Also, I've heard that his colorful shadows are not as good as his neutrals, and I've only tried his neutrals, so it makes it a little bit harder for me to place it a little bit harder. I will say his neutrals are so good, so good. Then for number 2, I'm gonna go with Laura Los Angeles. That should not be a surprise for anybody, but I really like her formula. I have nothing to say. It's just that Natasha's a little bit better. So Natasha Denona, number 1. Yeah, and that's personally what I have to say about that. Let me know what you think. What are your top 5 formulas in your collection? I am super curious to know. I know this was a super long video, and I'm sorry for all the noise. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.